Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I just cleaned off my bookshelves today. I was kind of cleaning up my office and I pulled some books from my shelf that I just decided as much as I wanted to keep them, and for as long as I've kept them, because I've kept some of these books for a very long time, I had to be honest with myself and say, you know what, Kara? You're just not going to read them. You have no interest in them anymore. There's other books that are kind of in that same genre that you'd want to read before these ones, and you're just not going to read them. And I decided to pull some of those off my shelf and put them in a bag and get rid of them. So I just wanted to film this video really quick just so I could show you guys kind of what I decided to unhaul. And yeah, so if you guys think any of these books are definitely worth the read and I should keep them around, let me know. I'd be very, very curious about your guys' opinions, because I definitely do take your guys' opinions a lot. And this first book actually is a good example of taking your guys' opinions. And I actually got this book in my last haul video. I hauled it and I got it from one of my little libraries, so it was free. And I picked it up because I was like, you know, I might want to read it. We'll see. I'll kind of see what my subscribers say, and I decided that I'm not going to keep it. I'm going to put it back in the little library, and it is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. And a lot of you guys know my reading taste, and you know kind of like what I like and what I don't like, and a lot of you guys said that based on my tastes, I'm probably not going to like this. I don't like slow-paced books. And a lot of you guys said it just would not be up my alley and that you didn't really like this book very much. It was maybe like a 3-star read or something. They're like, if I were you, I would pass on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this back in the little library that I found it in. So this next book is a book that I've kept around for ages, and I've been like holding on to it, thinking that there's a chance that I might end up reading it someday, but I'm not going to read it. I'm just not. I just know myself, and I know that there's other books out there that I'm gonna read before this, because I'm not so much into YA fantasy anymore as much as I am into like adult fantasy, or new adult fantasy, I guess. And this is a YA romance fantasy, and I'm like, you know, there's just other romance fantasies that I would like to read that are more my age, you know? So it's A Curse so Dark and Lonely, and as you guys know, this was really popular a few years ago, and this is a trilogy, and I only own this book, which I'm really glad. Like, I try my best not to buy all the books in a series, and I'm usually pretty good about it, and this is one of the ones that I never bought the other books because I just wanted to make sure I was gonna like it first, but then I never ended up reading it, so it's really good that I didn't buy all the books. I just don't think I'm ever gonna get to this, you know? I just think that there's a lot of books out there that are more my taste, that are in the romance fantasy genre, and this is just not a book I'm going to read, and I had to be honest with myself. The next book I'm getting rid of is Follow Me to Ground. I read this recently. I think I read this last month. It was in my TBR, and I gave this 3 stars, I think. It wasn't a bad book at all. It was actually really interesting, but it's not a book that I feel like I need to keep around. It's not a book I'm ever going to read again, and as much as I thought it was kind of an interesting, weird read, I think I could just pass it along to somebody else that might also kind of like it as well, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of this one. So the next book I'm getting rid of is A Place for Us by Fatima Farheen Mirza, and this book is a book that I actually got from a book subscription service that my husband bought for me maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, and I have had this book for a really long time, and honestly I just don't think I'm going to get to it. It's like a literary fiction novel, but it's kind of like a domestic family type of, you know, theme, where it's about how all the family members like get along with each other and all of that kind of stuff, and it's just not something I think I'm gonna like, honestly. Like, you know, I could have tried this, but I've owned it for like 4 or 5 years and I have never once found an interest in it at all. Like, I've never even thought about picking it up, and I just don't think it's ever gonna happen. It is signed, and it has like this little book plate and stuff in it, but you know, I just don't think it's ever gonna happen. As much as I wanted to keep it, I just don't think I need to. So I'm also getting rid of The Perfect Nanny. So a lot of people that I follow on like Goodreads and stuff have never really given this that great of reviews, and I think it's more of like a character study versus like a thriller, and I thought this was going to be more of like a thriller, and I don't think that's really what it is, and it's just never a book that I've felt like I wanted to pick up. I got this at Goodwill for $4.99, so it's not a super like expensive book or anything like that. It's just after seeing so many like so-so reviews on it, I've just kind of been like not that eager to pick it up. So next up is The Night Swim. You guys know that I read this last month. It was in my TBR, and I think I got this at Goodwill. And I read it, I gave it 3 stars. This wasn't a bad book by any means. It had some really interesting and important themes in it, but as far as like being my favorite thriller of all time, or one of my favorite thrillers, it definitely wasn't that. I gave it 3 stars. I'm kind of glad I read it, but it's definitely not like a type of book that I'm super into, and I just don't think that it's ever going to be something that I feel like I want to let somebody borrow or recommend or anything like that. So I think I could get rid of this and be pretty happy with getting rid of it. Next up is this Pillow Thoughts poetry collection, and I bought this knowing that I was going to actually donate this after I read it. And what I decided to do was annotate the crap out of this book. So I annotated it so much and I wrote all of my thoughts in it. And at the beginning of the book I said annotation number 1, where I'm from, and the date that I annotated it and read it. And I think it would be really cool if people just took this and annotated it and then passed it along and annotated it more and passed it along. And I'm going to put this in the little library in my neighborhood. So I thought that was going to be really fun, and hopefully people do it. Like, I would love to see this book in the little library over and over again and just kind of like see what people write in it. The next book that I'm getting rid of is Emily Henry's Book Lovers. I just did not like this book. As you guys know, I gave this 2 stars. I was not a fan of it. This kind of turned me off from Emily Henry, if I'm being honest, and I'm scared to read any more of her books. I am going to give her books one more try and kind of see what I think. I don't know what I'm going to read though, because I know Happy Place just came out and everyone's loving that one. I have People We Meet on Vacation and then Beach Read. So I own 2 of them. I just have to figure out which one I want to read, because if I make the wrong choice, it's going to turn me off of Emily Henry forever. So we'll see, but I'm definitely going to get rid of this one. I have no desire to ever reread this again. I'm going to donate it. The next book is this poetry collection called Courage, Daring Poems for Gutsy Girls. And I bought this because it was in the poetry section at my Goodwill, and I thought it sounded pretty interesting. I think I turned it to a poem and I read it and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But this is definitely for like somebody that's like Elena's age, maybe 11, 12, 13. And it's for, you know, girls to give them confidence, and like it's that age range, you know what I mean? But Elena's not like a poetry girly, and she's not a big reader, so I don't think she's gonna be reading this. I don't really want to read it. I tried reading a few of the poems and I just thought they were kind of boring. So I'm going to get rid of this and yeah, pass it along. So if you guys hear barking, we're babysitting my sister-in-law's dog and he likes to bark a lot. Okay, so the next book is this ARC that I got from my local bookstore, and this is called Saint X, and this is by Alexis Scheitkin. So I got this in one of those blind date with a book type of things, and this has actually been adapted into a show, I think. I don't know what streaming service it's on, but it's called Saint X, and I'm like, well, I mean, I've had this for a long time. I've never really felt the need to read it. And to be honest, this book didn't get like amazing reviews, and so I think it kind of turned me off from it for a really long time, and I just never felt the need to pick it up. And now it's adapted, so if I ever do want to know the story of this, I can just kind of watch the show, which is probably what I would end up doing anyways, because I just didn't hear the best things about the book. So I love the cover. I think the cover is gorgeous, and this always has kind of made me keep it around because the cover is so pretty. I just had to be honest with myself and say, Carrie, you're not going to read it. So the next book I am going to get rid of is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I got this for Elena, hoping that this might kind of get her into reading or whatever, but then she ended up reading this at school, and like her teacher read it to her, and like I said, Elena's not a big reader. I think if she wanted to read the full Harry Potter series, she would listen to it on audio, and I think she got up to the 3rd book, and that was in 3rd grade, but he didn't read past the 3rd book, so I just don't really feel like I need to keep this around, you know? I feel like if Emery ever wanted to read Harry Potter, she could listen to the audiobook as well, because she's not a super big reader, so I just don't really feel like I need to keep the physical book around, because I only have this first one, and I just don't think it's ever going to get read in my hands. Hopefully somebody wants that one. And then Animal Kind, Remarkable Discoveries About Animals and Revolutionary New Ways to Show Them Compassion. So I get packages sometimes from PETA, and as you guys know, I used to be a vegetarian. I am no longer a vegetarian. I now eat bird. But they have always sent me like these random packages sometimes, and this was actually sent to me. And I think I kind of skimmed parts of this book, to be honest, but it was never something that I ever felt like I was going to sit down and read like the entire thing. I feel like this type of book is a book that I would read on audio versus physical. You know, it does sound kind of interesting because I love kind of learning about animals, but I'm not going to read it physically if I do read it, so I'm just going to like pass it along. And then Women Who Run with the Wolves. So this is a really famous like book about women and wild women and how women are, you know, spiritual wild beings and blah blah blah. And it's just not really my cup of tea, if I'm being honest. I don't know if this is like psychology based or philosophy. I don't really know, but it's not really my cup of tea. I know so many people like this and it has a ton of just like rave reviews, and who knows, maybe someday I'll be interested in reading this, but if so, I feel like this is another one of those books that I'll probably listen to on audio. And I've had this book for literally like 6 years. I'm not even kidding. I got this so long ago and it's just sat on my shelf ever since. Plus it's like the little tiny mass market paperback, which is annoying because the font is so flippin' tiny and that stresses me out, so no. And then this book, so this book was a complete accident. This is called Einstein's Dreams, and I wanted to read this really bad, and I actually own another copy of this. And the reason I own another copy of this is because when I ordered this on Amazon, I didn't realize I was ordering the German version. So this is in German, and I don't speak German, and I've just kind of kept it around because I keep forgetting to donate it or like get rid of it, but yeah. A German book. I don't know who is going to take this. So the next one is Pizza Girl. As you guys know, I tried reading this for one of my TBR videos. I think it was like 2 or 3 months ago. So this book, it just was not a good book. I DNF'd it about 30 pages in. It was just not a good plot. The main character was super, super unlikable. I had absolutely zero interest in anything happening in this book, and I hated it. So I DNF'd it, and I'm going to pass it along. The cover is really cute though, I have to say. I mean, that's why I bought it. I got this at Goodwill for like $5, and I was hoping that I was really gonna like it, but I just didn't, so I don't need to keep it around. And then last but not least is Broken Perfect Lies. This was by Katie Wismer. She is a author tuber. She used to be a booktuber. And I read her Marionettes series. Well, I read the first 2 books. I really want to read the next 2 as well. I just haven't gotten around to them yet. But yeah, this book just wasn't really up my alley. I gave this one 2 stars. It just, I felt like there's a lot of plot holes and just things that had me like questioning like why certain things were happening, and I just didn't feel any connection between the love interest and the main character. It just fell a little bit flat for me, and I'm just gonna pass this along. You know, I think that some people could really like this actually, and I think that this is a good book for a little library, because I think that this is a great book for just like the casual reader. It just wasn't really my taste. But yeah, that is it, you guys. That is all of the books that I'm unhauling, and I feel like I did a pretty good job getting some of those really old books off of my shelf that I just felt like I was never gonna read, but I was like holding on to for dear life, and I got some room on my shelf, so that's really good. So that is it, you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.